years at GM, and I was the future product launch clerk.
Manuel Delgado, Manny. I work for the City of Lansing Development.
Justin Quainton, I'm a commercial lender at LAFQ.
Justin Hidalgo, owner of a company called Premier Restoration and Cleaning Services.
Chaz, I do a few things. And one is being a partner on this project. So, very small role, but I appreciate it. So, thank you.
That's exciting. This project's coming together because of all the community collaboration. This thing has been a long time in the making for Southwest Lansing. We'll talk a little bit about that during the presentation, but I am very proud and excited of all the hard work that's gone into this, and we are close to the finish line and being able to get to the next steps of really getting the community involved with ownership of how their community grows in the future. And Jeff,
Yep.
I kind of skipped you.
That's okay. Jeffrey Mosier, Michigan Business Network. Bring business stories to Michigan, Michigan's business stories to the world.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll start with the what. So at the corner of Holmes and Pleasant Grove, we've been working with the land bank for the last few years to say what can we do with that corner to make it an embodiment of bringing social connections back to areas of the community that were designed without it, just based on the time frame that they were built. And how do we really embody that in a project? So this is at the old site of the Pleasant Grove School. And what we're building is a 30-unit building with 5,800 plus minus square feet of commercial. And we're excited that LAFQ is our partner on this and taking all of the commercial space. They're bringing in a branch in an area that's been a banking desert for a long time. They're also bringing in their foundation, which is going to be working on community and social activities, understanding wealth management and how to build community wealth long-term in the community, plus a lot of other programs, including small business support. So it's really exciting. And then the third piece is going to be a business accelerator, which is still being scoped right now. And that will be right on the corner. So for the project plan, this is Holmes Road. Oops, I forgot this touchscreen. I apologize. This is Holmes Road right here. Quality Dairy's right across the street. And we're working in the first phase. So the building will be facing Holmes Road. It has a large plaza going in around that will be available for community gatherings and kind of envelop the commercial space. And in that, we're working with the community. There's going to be a memorial to Malcolm X. This is going to be small. They're working on a larger one in the community, but this is just celebrating the fact that he went to school here and that this project is going to be telling the story of the community and important people that were in the community. The next phase is going to be a commercial on the first floor. Our goal is to bring in health, and we're working with that right now, as well as other opportunities for businesses to come in. So one of our asks to the community is, if you have ideas of businesses that may be interested in looking at that, we've got an open slate here to look at. When we talk about projects, one of the most important things is making sure the community is engaged in how our projects are built. And that's been one of the biggest disconnects in development, right? When we think about development, traditionally developers come in, propose a project, it goes through the traditional plan of the public hearings and the entitlement, and there is some room for community engagement. What's different with this project is this project started with the community saying, we want something here. And it started in 2016 with the Southwest Action Plan. So the Southwest Action Plan looked at what does Southwest Lansing want to look like in 10 years. And it was focused on small business growth, social connections, building opportunities for people, and also some projects that were defined. And is everybody here familiar with the corner of Holmes and Pleasant Grove? So over the last 10 years, there's been a town square put in, some art installations, connections with trails, the Beacon Park. And the idea was, to start building that infrastructure, to start bringing those connections together, to bring more investment to the corner, and have some project that really begins to reset and make that neighborhood scale and neighborhood center in the community. So we're excited to be a part of that and help bring that vision to life in the community. Any questions so far before I move on the project? Yeah.
Just a little off, but kitty corner from that is where Terra Nova's was,
Yeah.
that plaza. Have there been any talks and, you know, I don't know, maybe upgrading or demolishing and putting something in there, you know, or anything like that?
I know that 1910 Market is looking at doing a little bit of an expansion right there, and they've been working on it for the last couple years. And you know, as this vision continues and looking at what's the next 10 years for Lansing, and Southwest Lansing specifically, that is some of the conversations that are happening. So I don't think there's anything specific right now, but I could be wrong on that, but I know that the discussion is, for that corner, what does that look like 10 years from now?
Been there forever, but,
Yeah.
you know, maybe some, I don't know,
Yeah.
upgrades.
And the goal is with a project like this that hopefully it spurs more opportunity around it.
Hey, Fred, could I ask?
Yeah.
So the part of the project, I just want to make sure I don't speak out of turn, the improvement plan is actually going to be doing some, actually resurfacing and redoing the parking lot in that corner. Is strip mall correct, or is that still part of the project?
We're looking at that as we continue phases to be able to do that, of bringing in more infrastructure around for more development to happen. That is one of the pieces that we're looking at, is can we solve the need with that town square area to be able to pave, and then especially we get to phase 2 and we're going to need more parking to be able to look at making those connections. So yeah, sure. So when we look at what's going on in Southwest Lansing, there's been a lot of groups in the community working on what does the next 10 years look like. And as Melissa brought up CityCraft, we've been working with the Invest Health team and meeting with other community groups to discuss what are the areas of opportunity that are available down there. And some of the things that have come up is, as we look at the next 10 years, is what's economic growth going to be, and how do we really connect local businesses and the people together to create a place where wealth stays in the community. Community health, and that's Andrea's specialty for being on, is looking at over the next year, what's our understanding of the metrics in health, and how does it connect to the environment, how does it connect to the people, and how do we look at that and make sure that for the next 10 years that benefits being created for the people in the community and they own that and are part of that. Housing affordability and quality. So that's kind of my bias. I've been in development for a little over 25 years and focused on, we know we've got a housing problem in the area. We know we have an affordability problem. And how do we create tools to be able to help solve that? Understanding the social connections. And a lot of work's been done in Southwest Lansing, the festivals, the gatherings that are going on. Southwest Lansing is, everybody knows, is a very active community. And really, as we work forward and this project and other projects, be able to tell that story of the work that's been done and the work that's coming and what opportunities are going to be available in the future. And understanding our stormwater and our environment. You know, our greatest resource in Michigan is what?
Water.
Our water. And when we think about how development's been done for the last 50 years, we take the water off of our parking lots, we run it through, if we're lucky, a small area to kind of detain the pollutants and things, and then it runs directly into our river. So when we're looking at this project, part of it is understanding how can we get water back to our aquifers cleaner and safer. And in the project we're working on, we have a rain garden and a piece that's going to be one of the center functions of the parking lot. So both for aesthetics, but also for understanding that this is the story of how, as we move forward, development can help put cleaner water back into the Grand River and over time begin to heal and grow and compound on the effects of more and more developments coming in to be able to do that. And then community engagement. And that's one of the core pieces. When we talk about development, one of the things that a lot of people feel is there's no agency in how our communities grow. You know, sometimes it feels like developments are impressed upon us. And from the developer standpoint, it's looked at that, well, I'm following the zoning, I'm following all of the rules, why is this a problem? And the problem is that how we engage and how we work and how people are connected to the community. And that's where this project's different. As I alluded to a few minutes ago, this project started from the community that we want something here that has these components. And as the project scope's been going on, there's been a lot of engagement of what this is moving forward. And this is the model that our group's looking to continue to take forward and build on, that as our communities evolve for the next 10 years, that the people are connected more to the types of businesses, the types of housing, and the types of social areas that are built for people to be a part of. So the process we're working with, we're lucky we have John Knopp, who founded CityCraft, who's worked in a lot of other communities to build these types of networks that start with the community engagement and working on how we make these connections and how we build local communities, and setting up this roadmap for the next 10 years that's being scoped right now. We'll be able to have those stories and be able to have those opportunities. That's starting with this project. So this project is the connection from the 2016 to 2026 plan, and then working on the engagement that's happening now to build the plan for what the next 10 years is. So it's that impetus point of how all of this comes together and what it looks like in the future. We were also lucky to meet the National Coalition for Community Capital. And this is where this project really has engagement long-term with the community. So the National Coalition for Community Capital has been working on community investment funds around the country. And we're excited to be one of the first in Michigan that will allow people to be able to invest in their community and in projects and businesses in the community long-term. Has anybody here heard of the community capital model before? Jeff Manning. So when we think about investment and we think about investment funds, right? You have funding sources that come together. You can invest in the stock market, you can invest in individual companies, you can invest in mutual funds. But a lot of that money, when it's invested, leaves our area. It goes to national businesses, large corporations. And here we're using a model where the money stays local. So no matter who invests in the fund, that money is deployed first in Southwest Lansing, which is the focus area right now in the first project with Holmes Pleasant Grove. And then over time, we'll continue to grow and invest in other real estate projects and other businesses in the community. So this is a structure of what it looks like. So when we look at who can invest in this project, we have fans of Lansing. So when we looked at scoping it, and as we've been going through over the last 6 months of building understanding around this, originally it was looked at, does it start with just people in the community? And through some of the feedback, well, what if I moved out of Southwest Lansing, but I want to support projects there? So it is open that people can invest in the project. Community businesses, that small businesses in the area, if they want to support, are able to come in and support the project as well. Our Lansing residents and neighbors. This is about building wealth in the community and building a model for long-term, slow capital growth, and having a fund that's able to continue to grow over time. Community organizations, and even supportive national organizations, that any groups that want to come in and understand that it's important to grow our communities locally. The important part is understanding how the fund is managed. So the fund is going to be set up with a 7-member board. So 3 board members are appointed by the City Craft Foundation to make sure that the mission is met, that this project is meeting social goals, that it is focused on creating local opportunity. And then there's going to be 2 board seats for resident investors. And we're using Silicon Prairie, which is a platform that allows for crowdfunding. So people will be able to go look at the information and be able to pledge investments on through that platform. We're looking at for timing right now that will be open later this spring. So we'll go through the timing of the project here in a minute. So right now what we're doing is building awareness in the community. So we'd love if anybody has groups that we can come talk to about what this is and what it looks like. We'd love to set up more meetings over the next few months and talk with the community about why this is important and what it looks like, and make sure that people are comfortable and questions are answered on it. And then there are 2 other board seats for if there's any businesses that put in large groups of, or large investments of money as well. So we'll have 2 board seats for the crowdfunding, 2 board seats for larger investors. And the vote stays in it, that everybody has a vote. When we look at voting for long-term, to make sure that this project stays local for a long period of time, the way it's set up is no matter how much money you put in, that's 1 vote for potentially selling it, which would have to go to the entire investment group. It's not just a board decision. The board is set up to make sure that the daily operations are taken care of, that working with the accounting firm, working with the property management firm, that the property is efficiently managed over time. But a selling decision would have to go back to the entire investment group. And this is what makes sure that it has to be in the best interest of everybody that's in the fund to be able to sell it. Any questions on the structure before we move to timeline?
So if I was a small business, what does that look like? What do you consider a significant business or significant investor in this project?
So,
a dollar amount, or is it just a feeling you get?
so great question, Chaz. So that's actually decided by the SEC.
Okay.
So when we look at investment, so when we think about, has anybody here heard the term accredited investor? So accredited investor is an individual or a company that has a certain amount of net worth that meets the criteria to be able to invest privately. So it'll be accredited investors and following the SEC guidelines, which paperwork will be filled out when we begin talking with investors about bringing money in to decide what the which way to invest in the project. It allows anybody to invest because it's gone through a process of getting audited on its financials and getting everything in compliance, that when it goes to the website and the platform for people to learn about the investment, that it's there, and it's had the oversight from the SEC to make sure that people understand what they'd be investing in.
When can people start investing, or can they commit early and then invest, or how does that work?
The next step is we're going to be starting to take pledges. The timing on that right now, for the project timing, we are, next week, we're having our meeting with the senior lender for the construction loan. And as long as they feel that we've met all the terms and they're ready to go, then we'll be ready to go, and we're in for permits with the city right now. So with next week, we'll be able to set that timeline, and then once we know what date we're going to be starting construction on the site, we'll begin close to that to open up for pledging. We want to make sure that we have momentum on the site and that people have something that they can see.
How much are you looking to raise?
So the raise is going to be set up in several tiers. The first tier is $800,000, which makes sure that the project is secured when it gets to its stabilization, which means we have the 30 units leased. LAFQ is set up and operational on site. And then the next tier is $1.5 million, which allows for work to begin on building 2 with a stretch goal of $2.5 million over the next couple of years so that we can start getting into building 2. Thank you. Any other questions on the project or on the funding side?
What's the minimum amount, or, yeah, the minimum I have to invest in, if I just an individual neighborhood guy, I don't want to invest in?
Yeah. So the individual that we're looking at is, and this isn't set in stone yet, but we're looking at $100 for the minimum. And we're working with NC3 on can that be a pledge model. So to make sure that people that are investing that are interested, that it could be $10 a month over the period of construction. And one thing that we're working on while we don't have the number set is understanding if people haven't invested before, making sure that how their tax returns are done, that we're not adding a burden more than what the returns would be on the project. So those are things that we're looking at right now that we still have to work out before we can definitively say what that final number is going to be, or at least disclosing to people so they understand if you do invest that what that looks like over time on cost to be able to invest in a project like this.
Why will it cost anything?
So if you don't have a K-1 on your tax return right now, let's say you're getting your taxes done at a free service. If you have a K-1, minimum cost is about $19 to have that processed into your tax return. And if you're investing $100, and if we're looking at, let's say, a 5% return over 5 years on the project, at $100, that's $5 a year, so it would be more for the tax return than it would be for the investment. And we're looking and talking to services that may be able to offset some of that and what that looks like. So that's one of the things that we're still working out right now to make sure that when we're doing this, that it's bringing benefit.
Are you partnering with employers to do larger donations on the other side of things?
We would love to. So, and that's one of our asks, that there are businesses that are interested in supporting this, to talk with us about what larger investments could look like in the project as well. Any other questions? So our timeline right now is have construction start in the next 4 weeks. We're in for permits right now. I said the last piece to make sure that that is on track is next week, so we're excited about that. And we'll keep updates on when we have those final pieces put together when it starts. So the goal is that by next spring, we're able to lease apartments and have LAFQ doing their grand opening on the site.
By next spring?
Yeah, so it'll be 1 year.
So when you were saying in the next 4 weeks, you're gonna actually break ground?
Yes. Yeah, we're in for permits and we'll be able to break ground. And the weather looks like it's starting to come back around for us. It was a little scary in January, thinking we're gonna have ice till May this year, but it looks like Mother Nature is gonna be a little favorable to us. So the most important thing is this project is impossible without all of the people that have been involved to get it to where it's at. With the county supporting, bringing money in, with all of the community groups that have been part of scoping and talking about this, and all of the different strategic partners that have brought in resources and time to make sure that we've got the project approved, we're getting it scoped and getting it ready to go. We're going to be with the fund, making sure that we have it, that the community is able to invest and be able to see that benefit and have that say in how it grows. So we're excited that we're getting ready to move to that next piece and get the project out of the ground.
Hey, Brent,
Yeah,
so the units, the apartment units,
yeah.
that's gonna be affordable housing, right? So 80% area median, is that correct? or-
It's 80 to 120% median income for the area. And there will be some market rate as well. But yeah, there's 25% of the project is set for that 80% to 120% median income for the Lansing area. And that will be for a minimum of 27 years.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so when we talk about affordability, the legal term with the state of Michigan is attainable housing. So how do we protect housing for the workforce? And it was set up that when we look at what the median income is for the area, and I give or take a little bit for a for a household, it's right around 55,000.
56,900
Thank you.
for one person.
So when we look at that, 25% of the units will be available for 80% of that number to 120% of that number, and the rents will be set accordingly to income levels to make sure that it stays affordable over time.
Well, the 56,000 is the 80%.
That's the 80% number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll editorialize slightly since I'm not on stage. So, these, especially in Lansing, Michigan, these numbers, these terms for these different numbers are really strange and similar. So, and they're mostly tax terms. So attainable housing, workforce housing, low-income housing, there's probably, I think there's 5 or 6 of them. In Lansing, I've done the calculations, especially in the last 5 years, they're almost the same numbers. I mean, they're like slightly far apart, but especially if you look at a family of 4, they're within dollars from each other. And so it's just because of the way the housing goes in Lansing, we're kind of a little unique by that. What this project will do actually, even at the market level, is still it almost all qualifies under most of those definitions, which are more tax definitions based on benefit that the developer or the person building the project is going to get, either in tax benefit from the state or the Fed. And so they're just terms. I mean, as far as what is actually going to be built and who's going to live there, it'll be attainable for the neighborhood to support it and for people who live there that already live there, or people that can't live there because there's no housing available. We just didn't stack like an extra tax credit for qualifying for some other term
Yeah.
that, that's like.
And the important part about that is having that 25% of the units. The numbers right now are in line, but if you look at other markets, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, it's not anymore, which means it's coming here eventually. So having these protections in place and what the Housing Trust Fund's been doing is important because it's making sure that for the next, depending on the project, between 10 and 30 years, that we have housing available for that missing middle, whatever you want to call it, income, to be able to find housing and have stock available here in Lansing.
It's a great point, because again, right now, all those numbers are squished together and they look very similar, but in the next 10 to 20 years, they're going to separate.
Yeah.
And this property will stay in line, whereas the outside rents and other things that are built are going to probably accelerate. So this will be a value to the community because it's going to stay in line there.
It's just, a lot depends on where your big funding comes from, like HUD and the CDBG funds and stuff like that. They have certain, they gotta be a certain time limit that they have to be affordable, and
Yeah.
then after that it goes away, but during that time period, so when you were talking about the 27 year, if that's what it is, that's probably well within the HUD guidelines.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was the longest incentive that's on the project, which is a tax increment financing piece. So with the agreement of getting that TIF, that we would have 25% of the units affordable for the length of the TIF. And yeah, HUD, it depends on your financing terms, and that can change anywhere from 5 to 15. A lot of different programs.
I might be throwing you off of what you represent, but are you going to go through the capital stack as far as the different funding mechanisms for the project?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So yeah, we really are at questions right now. So
Yeah.
the way that the project's set up right now, we have a construction loan from FNBA, and then we have a bridge loan from Cedar, who's located on Washington, that's bridging the tax increment financing during our construction, so we're borrowing money against that. And then we have an MEDC grant as well, and that we're borrowing money against that because it's a reimbursement grant. So, and then we also have grant money from the Housing Trust Fund. So that's how we're getting the project built. And then when the fund opens, it will be available for investors to invest in it who will own the project at the as the money's raised and as the fund gets going. And then some of the grant money that's in there, some of it will be in because the project costs more to build than what the value is going to be at stabilization. Just right now, unfortunately, the cost of construction being where it is and where rents is, there was a gap there. And that's where a lot of these incentives are working right now, when you're seeing a lot of the incentives coming through City Council right now. And then when the raise from the Lansing Growth Fund happens, money that's in that grant will be, or the money in the raise will become the equity in the project, and then some of that grant money will roll forward into Building 2 to be able to start and get the seed money to start that. All right. Any questions on the financing or timing or anything? Any feedback on the project? Thoughts?
You mentioned a medical aspect for this phase 2. What other things are you thinking besides housing and medical might fit in that space?
So some of the other things that have come up is daycare, if that's a possibility. Also, more community space, if there's a way for event space in the community, if there's a group that's interested in that. Right now, that list is just getting started as we're starting to look at what Building 2 is, but the daycare ones come up quite a bit. And then really looking at what is medical that's needed in Southwest Lansing, and that's been the primary focus.
what about the credit union aspect? Is there going to be a credit union office in there?
In Building 1.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's in the first phase.
Yep.
So I want to thank everybody for their time, and said any other feedback? We got a few more minutes scheduled.
How do we keep connected if we want to stay informed on this?
So has everybody here signed up? I know Manny's on the newsletters. Everybody here signed up for the newsletter? So if you can, on the back is a sign-up sheet, and we've got a newsletter that goes out, and follow us on our Facebook page. And then also you can go to the website for updates, which is lansinggrowthfund.com. So we're up to date on the events that we'll have coming up. Will be on there. The next event we'll be at is this Saturday at the Southwest Lansing Market, which is in the Lansing Mall. So we'll be out talking to the community about the project there and giving updates. All right, perfect. Well, I want to thank everybody for your time, and please reach out with any questions. And appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate the team for support. All right, and please eat some snacks and take a few with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.